involved, and Dave and I became partners of FIBI afterwards because we really liked the way the events were run. We really liked that concept, and we found it's been great for our own businesses as well as our own relationships. That's really what this is about, is finding the relationships in the room where we can all help each other. And I don't think anybody can do this without each other. So everybody has resources and knowledge bases and tools and strategies that we don't know and can learn from each other. So thank you guys for all for joining us. Afterwards, we'll be doing some additional networking that Dave will talk about. Dave and I run this group with FIBI Manhattan Beach, and then I run the FIBI Long Beach as well. We have them reoccurring every month. If you want to find any of our chapters, you can go to meetup.com and type in FIBI and find our chapters. That being said, Dave, go ahead and you want to talk about what we're going to do here?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. How are you? Good. Thanks for coming. So first of all, just some housekeeping items. The bar is still open, right? So if you guys are interested, you can just kind of walk around the back through here. I know this is a 2-hour real estate investment meeting, so some people can't sit for that long. So if you got to stand up and kind of walk in the back, that's cool too. There's space back there, there's chairs back there. If you need to use the restrooms, there are restrooms when you first walked in, the first kind of little alley there on your right where the restrooms are. They should be propped open. For some reason, if they've gotten closed, there's a key at the front desk. Just come back and grab that, and when you get in, see if you can put the doorstop back in there. As Matt mentioned, we are a all education, all networking, no sales pitch environment. That's the brand of FIBI, and we adhere to that. So anytime if you go to another FIBI meeting, Matt mentioned that he runs the one in Long Beach. There's a fantastic chapter up in Pasadena. There's a huge chapter down in Orange County. There's a really big chapter down in San Diego. So any FIBI that you go to, they may all be a little different as far as the structure. Not all of them do panels like we do here. But that's the one premise and the promise of being a FIBI chapter leader, is that you can't sell anything. So purely what you're going to hear tonight is educational. We are not attorneys, right? We don't have any attorneys on this panel. We do have a CPA, but we are not here to either give you legal advice or to give you any type of financial advice. So this is just our opinions as investors and people that are professionals in the space. If you've got specific questions relative to your situation, please consult with your own advisors. And if you need referrals on those people, come let us know. We can point you in the right direction. The way we do this, right, because you guys got in here for the low price of what, 20 or 25 bucks, right? So we are clearly not doing this to make money, right? We do this because we want to network, right? So we want to network with you, and we want you to network with each other. And as an investor, once I kind of got tapped into FIBI, that's really where my investing career started to blossom because of the people that I met. And that's the one thing that we always talk about as far as investing. The quality of people that you kind of come into contact with will dictate the quality of investor you become, right? And there's a lot of good people here. There's some serious brain power sitting in the seats as well as sitting up here on the stand. So make sure that when this is over, just don't run out of here. You're missing out on the real art of FIBI. The art of FIBI is getting a chance to meet and network with people in the room. As an example, who here has money and you're looking for a deal of some kind? Raise your hand. Okay. Who here has deals and you're looking for money? So right there, I would say...
Who has deals in California that you're looking for money for? There's actually a couple people in the room. That's amazing.
So those are people, right? And through the course of the evening, while we've pre-scripted some questions here, this is meant to be more conversational, right? So if you've got a question, raise your hand, and we'll try to get to as many questions as we can. If you've got a very specific question about your situation, because your mom bought a house in Iowa and the cows need to be, save that for after the meeting, set up a consultation, try to keep your questions more general in nature. We have a meeting in this room tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., okay, which means as soon as we're done here, we're going to try to wrap up at 9:10 at the latest. PM, thank you for clarifying. Actually, 2 of our panels for next week already starting to cause some flack for next month, so I appreciate that, Dave. So as soon as we're done here, we're actually going to go downstairs, and there's a door right behind me, and you can walk around. We've reserved the whole patio for North Italia, and we've got some appetizers that we already have. We'll have these set up. Cash bar, buy your own drinks. So as soon as we're done here, we're all going to go to North Italia, and that's where we can kind of, do some post-networking. So as you hear people ask things, right, think, okay, that was a good question. Pick their face out, and then when you get over there, go introduce yourselves and exchange cards and set up some time to talk about it. Last thing that I'll talk about, and we'll introduce the panelists here, is that we do have some sponsors. That's kind of how we afford to do this, right? We're not pulling this off on your $20 at the door. Actually, one of them is one of our panelists tonight. So Andrew with Walker Dunlop is a commercial lender. I know we've got Kyle Mealy back here, who's a South Bay Tax and Financial Consulting. Kyle, raise your hand. Which I'm amazed that he's here in February. I didn't think we'd see him again until May, so way to go, Kyle. I know Jesse Navarro's office, they do some insurance down in Redondo, so we've got someone from Jesse's office, so thank you for coming. UDirect IRA is one of our sponsors. They do self-directed IRAs. Let's see, Jeff here. Who else? Well, actually, Carol's law firm is a sponsor for FIBI Corporate. So Chase Law Group, which Carol works for, they're one of our sponsors for all of our FIBIs. So Carol, thank you for that sponsorship. They also did all of our legal work for our entity for FIBI and set us up as a C Corp here in California. Any other? Who am I missing? No, I'm missing. Oh, we're missing.
The co-real estate team.
Well, yeah, the co-real estate team at OCG Properties, we certainly are sponsors.
We're our own sponsors, by the way. We didn't have to pay the fee for the sponsorship.
Actually, we paid a lot.
Never mind, you're right.
We also have Spiro, Woodward, Corvallis, and Goldberg. Thank you. Yes, our local attorney firm. Do a lot of real estate attorneys down in Redondo Beach. They're really a great firm, local firm, been around for a long time. So if there's any referrals for those types of people that you're looking for, please come find us, and we've got a bunch of information in the back that you can grab as well. Okay, you guys have heard me talk enough. We're going to go ahead and introduce our panelists here. The topic for tonight is getting wealthy in commercial real estate, and as we always like to do here, we don't want to have three of the exact same people that sit up here and then one person answers a question, the other guy says, yeah, that's exactly right, just what that guy said. So we always try to put together a panel. Tonight we've got a commercial real estate investor, we've got a commercial real estate operator / syndicator, and a commercial real estate lender. So we've kind of got three different perspectives on this topic. Why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Well, thanks all for coming. My name is Hunter Thompson. And I'm super excited to be here, first of all, and just networking beforehand. So many new faces, new personalities. I'm very excited about this. And this topic is one of my favorites. So just go ahead and get into what I do. Awesome. So I am a syndicator, and I curate investments for passive investors. I'm a passive investor myself, and I've invested in virtually every type of commercial real estate, every type of real estate that really exists. Multifamily, office, retail, mortgage notes, self-storage facilities, virtually everything, within a value-add to stabilized risk profile. So usually the properties I invest in are going to cash flow in the first quarter. Sometimes the cash flow may be relatively low if there's a significant value add for that. And that's kind of been my strategy, especially over the last 3 years or so. I'm the founder of a company called Cash Flow Connections, which helps accredited investors invest in the type of opportunities that I invest in for my own portfolio. And they kind of come along for the ride. And so what I do, and I've got an interesting perspective on this because I'm a passive investor. So a lot of the due diligence that I go through is really on the sponsor themselves. So real value that we're adding is identifying quality sponsors, doing due diligence on those sponsors, making sure that they're the type of individuals worth making a bet on in an asset class that has some potential upside and makes a lot of sense from an economic, demographic, and geographic location. So,
awesome, Brad.
My name is Brad Johnson, and I'm the founder of Park Street Partners, which is, only say co-founder. He's not here right now.
But this is being recorded. He will find it.
Hi, Jefferson. So we are a very niche real estate operator of mobile home parks across the country. We're in about 12 states now. Before that, I was more on institutional real estate world, working specifically for Wells Fargo's Real Estate Investment Bank, and also on the private equity side, buying office buildings, skyscrapers, right, large apartment complexes, retail buildings, industrial complexes. So I've done everything on the commercial side except for hotels, so can't help you there, but hopefully I can bring some kind of insight into both being a syndicator and operator, which is what I'm doing now, and then also being on the acquisition side for just about any type of commercial real estate you can think of, if you have questions.
Thank you. Andrew.
Good evening, everyone. Andrew Westling with Water and Dunlop.
One moment where we handle these technical difficulties.
Well, first, David, Matt, thanks. I've been coming to these for almost 3 years now as a spectator and networker. First-time sponsor and first-time analyst. I've been a lender now for going on 10 years. My background, I started out here in California with Union Bank and the private bank. So I did a lot of pretty interesting credit, some unique and creative outside the box, not just through the commercial real estate loans. About 2 years ago, I went over to the dark side and joined a company called Mathew Owens Mortgage Banking. If you're familiar with them here in almost 100 years. They were mortgage bankers that correspond for life insurance companies and built their capital nationwide. And in December, we were bought by Walker and Dunlop, which was a great match. So we wear a couple of different hats now. Walker and Dunlop is one of the largest Fannie Freddie and HUD lenders on the multifamily and home park side of the country.
Oh, really? You should come.
We also still correspond for about 2 dozen life insurance companies that do all asset classes across the country. And then we act as brokers as well to banks, securitized lenders, and credit unions. So a lot of different hats, but we really finance just about every piece of commercial real estate under the sun across the country.
Thank you guys very much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
It's awesome to have this kind of knowledge base on the panel. My name is Mathew Owens. I'm a California licensed CPA. I don't do taxes, so don't ask me. I hate doing taxes. I am a full-time real estate investor. I flip about 5 houses a month out of state, and then I do a lot of value-add multifamilies, invest in passive syndications, as well as I've done my own syndications in the past, invest in promissory notes, and help a lot of investors with 1031 exchanges and things like that, as well as just giving the general knowledge of what the tax and legal structures can be or should be, and then referring them off to Kyle to actually do the actual taxes for them and doing the actual workload involved, which I get to do the fun part and tell them what to do initially and then say, Kyle, now you tell them what I told them that's wrong. So that's about it for me.
David Coe, I'm a realtor. Welcome to my office. We've been here for about 6 months now. I have a partner, Gloria Camiso, is there in the back, and our specialty is dealing with people that have issues. Particularly families in transition, so we deal with a lot of divorce, we deal with probate, we deal with some relocation, and then of course, because of my background as an investor, which I've co-invested here with Matt, I've co-invested with Hunter, actually we're invested in Brad's fund. I also deal with a lot of investors on some single family and smaller commercial stuff as well. So any one of us that you are interested in networking with, this is why we do this, so please come grab our card afterwards. We'd love to talk more. But for now, we're going to jump into the panel. So the first question we're going to ask, and Hunter, we'll let you go first. Why don't you kind of give us some of the primary reasons why commercial? What is it about commercial versus residential?
Sure. So one of the things, in general, I'll just kind of go from a big picture perspective. Someone that I respect a lot, a friend of mine, started a company that's very successful in the hundreds of millions of dollars type of valuation. And his co-founder was talking about a story that happened where they were trying to raise capital for this fund, for this startup. And they had interviewed 30 VCs and got $0 from these VCs. And in this interview, he talked about how he felt like he wasn't being himself. I don't think he graduated from college, or he was it like, yeah, he didn't finish college, and he's going to these VCs, all of them Ivy League grads. He's trying to act like he's from Ivy League and just not be himself, basically. And when he put that aside and just was himself, the money started flowing in, and things just, it's been amazing watching that. So, to be honest with you, one of my strengths is identifying people that are incredible, ethical people to work with, and leveraging their time and expertise. And commercial real estate is perfect for that. So, as a passive investor, commercial or real estate allows me to work with some of the best operators in the country and some very sophisticated individuals in asset classes that are very complicated. What I mean by that is single family, it's a relatively simple investment. So when you compare someone who is mismanaging a single family facility compared to what it's like to really fully optimize a commercial facility with a bunch of ancillary incomes, a lot of different tenants, a lot of different ways to make money, the discrepancy is huge. So for me, I like commercial real estate because the complexities allow me to defer to someone else's expertise, leverage their time and expertise and access to credit with my capital and my investors' capital. So that's one of the reasons. There's a million reasons. Another one is that it is much more based on numbers. The numbers are very simple, so the value of the property should be based on income at the end of the day, or its potential to generate income. You're not dealing with volatility that's caused by, you're not supposed to be dealing with volatility that's caused by pure speculation. And if you are, it's clear as an investor, you can see this valuation is entirely based on speculation because of the income potential that this property is producing. So those are some of the reasons. We'll go into some of them later.
Cool. Brad, why'd you get involved in commercial versus residential?
When I was growing up, all the wealthiest people I knew were in commercial real estate, and so that was my first exposure to it. And then just really digging into it and looking at the math. I'm a math guy, and I just intuitively, it makes a lot of sense to me, right? If you're having somebody pay down your mortgage, you're getting great tax benefits, you're diversifying over multiple income streams versus when I started off, my first piece of real estate was a single family home, and I had one career tenant that gave me a distasteful experience with single family house investing. You know, today it's a fine investment, but it's tough to scale it. So for me,
only one tenant?
Yeah, it was one tenant. It turned me off to it. Unfortunately, it was the first tenant, right? You know, I can easily see, you know, the guys that are owning, 200, 300 single family rentals now, that's a fine business. It's tough to manage. You really have to have a pretty big company to do it. But for me, I had that initial, bad experience and decided, you know what, I want to spread out my income stream over a lot of tenants. And, just kind of getting exposure to the different asset classes, whether it be commercial, apartments, industrial, you get to do that. And the nice thing too is that, whether you're buying a $500,000 duplex in California or a $5 million, office building or $50 million, apartment complex, it actually takes a similar amount of time to do the work and close the deal. And so you're leveraging your time and talents the higher you go up in scale.
Andrew?
I'll answer this a couple of ways. One will be from a lender's perspective. But first, I think single families are a great investment. I have clients that have a couple hundred, right? They're profitable, they're steady, but they're a lot of maintenance and a lot of work. But I think when it comes to commercial for me, especially on the lender side, the biggest red flag is regulation. On the residential mortgage side, we've all been through it, I think. So many hoops to jump through, so many standards. You have to check the box, and if you can't, you're out of the game. Whereas on the commercial side, there's a lot more flexibility. I'm not saying it's unregulated by any means, but there's a lot more options, a lot more flexibility in the lending place, a lot more sort of lending like logic than you find just because every part of my books, by the way, I just got back from YouTube from the Super Bowl, so I'm
And he's from Boston and a huge Patriots fan. And when I talked to him on Tuesday morning, I didn't think he was going to make it. So he's remarkable recovery. You screamed quite a bit on Sunday.
So that's a big one for me is flexibility on the lending side. But then for me personally, why I think it's a good investment over single family is just economies of scale and leverage. The ability to take, instead of just one income coming in through one tenant versus the offset of the mortgage, to leverage that for 8 or 12 times through a multifamily or through one retail tenant that's paying you a larger lease over a guaranteed amount of time. Just as steady, potentially just as much appreciation, but you can really leverage your initial down payment into something a little bit.
What areas do you guys lend in? Are you just here in California? Are you nationwide? What areas are you focused on?
No, so we're nationwide. We do a lot of business in California, but we do a lot of business in many other hot markets as well. We do every asset class: multifamily, mobile home parks, office, retail, industrial, vacant buildings. We do development and construction. We do some bridge proprietary program that we have. So we don't discriminate. There are obviously asset classes that we prefer, and there are things that we think are easier to finance without help. But I think just about everything can be financed, and we're happy to take a look.
Brad, you mentioned 12 states, right?
Yeah, both states.
What parts of where are you and where are you focused on?
We're pretty
And why?
agnostic about where we go. We've avoided the deep south because the rents are a little low there to justify the time, but we just closed the deal last week in Spokane, Washington. That's our only West Coast deal. We're mostly in the Midwest, Midwest and Great Plains. Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Indiana, Ohio. Mobile home parks are a highly acceptable asset class there. It's not the stigma of the quick trailer park in that part of the country. It's just working class families that need an affordable place to live. And they're beautiful communities, and we like running them.
Hunter, I know you invest in all kinds of stuff, but geographically, are you everywhere? Are you focused in certain areas? Where would you say your geographic focus is?
Yeah, so the major focus of the business is to be as diversified as possible, but the focus is really on cash flow. So with the cash flow being kind of caveat to that leads you towards certain geographic locations. Generally speaking, mountain coastal areas, Midwest is always a great opportunity. There's a lot of booming markets there, but the cap rates are high enough so that you can still generate cash flow. And I agree about the South too. Sometimes the economies of scale, you can find areas that are still profitable where the cash flow is still there. But
That's tough.
yeah, definitely. But generally, just keep in mind that because I'm a passive investor, my strategy is very much based on building for retirement. So the whole goal there is to just be as diversified as possible so that I can sleep at night knowing that the cash flow will pay off the expenses. And that's kind of the goal of the investors as well. So when we look at stuff like that, we want to be as diversified as possible in geographic locations, but also in different asset classes and in asset classes that perform in different stages of the economic cycle.
What does diversity get for you, and what do you have to give up to get it?
That's a great question. For me, diversification gives me financial freedom. A lot of people use that term, but for me, it's a very specific meaning. It's the peace of mind that goes along with knowing you're going to pay. So that's the easiest way to do that, is diversifying cash flow focused investments. A lot of people use that terminology, and at the end of the day, they may have the exact same goal, but they go about it in a route that is not very direct. So, for example, blue chip stocks, the dividends are significantly lower, but a lot of people invest in those with the same goal, and it's going to take them 5 times longer. But in order to achieve that diversification, I have to defer to someone else's expertise. And what that means is control. So the trade-off there is I'm giving up control for the diversification.
Andrew, when you actually go through and speaking of the diversification aspect, you finance a ton of different asset classes, I'm assuming. What are some of the intricacies of financing, say, mobile home parks versus a commercial shopping center versus a multifamily, and some of the differences there on the living side?
Yeah, I'll try and be short.
That's a big question.
On that. Every asset class has its niches, has its strengths, has its weaknesses, especially when you're looking at it from a financing perspective. And there's ways to mitigate all of them. I think Hunter makes a really good point. Expertise goes a long way, and that's where sponsorship, people running the this deal and finding this deal and putting it together can make or break some things in certain areas, because you really want to have faith that they know what they're doing, they understand the area of the market, and they've had experience maybe doing other projects similar to it prior to that. Mobile home parks specifically, and one of the challenges is park-owned homes, right? And what percentage of the homes are not owned by the residents? They're owned by the actual park and it's rented out. And so lenders look at that. There's, again, you can look at it both ways. It can be good, it can be bad. But from a financing perspective, there's limitations on how much that can be. And it changed recently. Shopping centers, right? It depends how big. Is it a neighborhood? Is it a community size? Is it a power center? What are the tenants like? Do they report their sales? What's the traffic? What's the location? Like, what are the demographics there? Who's going and shopping there? What's the biggest competitor? Why do people go across the freeway to go to that Costco as opposed to going to their local Ralph's? So things like that you're looking for. You really want to understand the market. So when it comes down to the actual asset classes, we could go through a list of pros and cons for everything. Personally, the deals I've invested in are multifamily or the passive one, just because I think they're really steady and the market has a nice long runway left. And I think that especially the financing you get on this killer, especially if you have interest only, you're looking for cash flow. Most of our clients are, and so that's probably without getting too long. That's probably
What are you looking at as far as rates and terms on these different asset classes that you're dealing with? I know it's probably totally fluctuates depending on the size and the strategy involved and things like that. But what are you normally seeing on a typical buy and hold type asset?
Yeah, I mean, we have lenders that will do anywhere from a 3-year fixed to a 30-year fixed on commercial property. A lot of people think they can't get that, right? Because it's longer term.
30 years. I've seen 7 to 10, and that's about it on most of the stuff on the multifamilies. But I think I've been dealing with smaller assets versus, the $2 to $10 million assets plus probably can get better financing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Our typical loan size for my team is spread about $8 million. As a company, we're about 15 or 16, something like that. So we play in that sort of middle market space more. What I'm working on with one right now for a big client that's $850,000. So the loans are originating. You're right, though. The bigger the loans, usually the cleaner they are, better the sponsorship usually, the investors behind them. So there's a lot less risk usually involved in it, so you can provide them better terms. It is a little unfair, but life's unfair. But the longer you're in this commercial real estate world, the more rewards you can reap.
Brad, you speaking about the diversification side, you focused a lot on the mobile home park stuff right now, and those types of funds, versus some of the other assets you said you've invested in the past. What's the reason why you started to focus on the mobile homes versus the other assets and kind of left those other ones out, or if you're still investing in those?
Yeah, well, to clarify, when I was working on office, apartment buildings, retail, industrial, I was working for other rich people or institutional funds. I was an employee, and I was looking at the landscape, and I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I wanted to go off on my own. And the path when you're trying to buy a $500 million skyscraper and you want to be the point person, that's a pretty long path to get to that point where you can do it, right? Where an endowment or a foreign investment firm is going to give you the reins to a company to go out and buy a huge asset. So, for a lot of people in here that maybe think about getting into commercial and going off on your own, you probably want to think about going something that's a little niche, that's something you can carve out and make a name for yourself and get very specific on what you're going after, because it helps in two aspects, right? One, you become very knowledgeable in that subject pretty quickly, as opposed to trying to look at 20 different deals in 20 different markets. And also, you become your area, right? Your FIBI meetings as, oh, he's the mobile home park guy, or he's the Airbnb, investor, right? And so people will come to you for questions, and that has a snowball effect to it, right? You all of a sudden are meeting new investors who are interested. You're meeting brokers who are bringing you deals, right? Because you became an expert of that space. And so for me, I looked at the universe of any kind of asset class in commercial real estate that I could go into, and what attracted me to mobile home parks was that I thought that that was an underappreciated asset class that most people, at least in my institutional world, were not paying attention to. And I could take kind of institutional, professional management, acquisition experience into a space that was filled with mom and pop type of operators. And so that's why I chose this space. And for one of you, it might be something completely different, but that was just a strategy to getting into it from an employee to a sponsor.
I'll say just anecdotally to go with that, talking about niches, one thing I've seen just from our vantage point, I think in 2015 as a company we did $300 million in financing to student housing. In 2016 we did like $900 million, and I think we're already at like $400 million so far this year. So it's just incredible how big that has blown up as a niche, just for what I've seen, because you get, as opposed to saying multifamily with 1 bed per unit, you get 4.
Hunter, what about yourself? What types of asset classes do you like to focus on primarily, and what's the reason why you focus on those?
Yeah, so I am very cyclically concerned as far as the economy is concerned, and probably more so than necessary. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of asset classes that perform well during all stages of the economy, and that's what I really like. So the two that jump out most to me are mobile home parks and self-storage facilities. I won't give you the details from my perspective of mobile home parks, I'll let them do that. But self-storage facilities, I'll give you an example. So the demand for the product increases during times of recessions. So when you have a situation like that, it's going to kind of balance everything out and make it a lot less volatile. And this has been proven especially over the last 2 recessions. So what I mean by that is that when there are recessions, people downsize. People have kids moving home from college. People have layoffs. They have to move. And all of those make for a lot of reasons why people are going to use that product. So that balances it out. And the good news is, when the economy does well, virtually every type of real estate is going to do well. The capabilities as well. The liquidity is there. The capital markets are loose. And people are getting jobs. All types of real estate are going to increase in value. So when you have an opportunity like that, to me, that's kind of a no-brainer. And so we're continuing to allocate capital towards those two in particular.
For those of you in the room, who here is actually interested in trying to acquire some commercial properties or multifamily or self-storage or mobile homes and things like that themselves right now, or who's focused on looking at that? Okay. And who's trying to invest in those types of things passively? Okay, that's a good understanding. So I mean, there's definitely pros and cons to both avenues of this, based on what your time parameters are, what your experience is, and things like that. I've invested a lot of these things passively, primarily just because of the fact that I have my own flip business and things like that I do. And I do operate on the multifamily side, but I can tell you investing in these other assets passively can really give you a jump start on your knowledge base to be able to start to look at how to operate them themselves, because it helps you do a lot of the due diligence on those deals yourself without having to take the risk. If you're going to be a $25,000 or $50,000 investor in a passive syndication investment, you can absolutely fly to the market, do all the homework, go and analyze the assumptions, do the homework on the operators, and without the risk of having to put your money on the line first.
Having to put hundreds of thousands or millions of
small
dollars
amounts of
on
money, which is great with the diversification play that Hunter's talking about, putting 25, 50,000 into multiple different funds, multiple asset classes across the board in multiple markets around the country. It really can be a huge benefit that most people don't have access to. So, I want to understand from your guys' perspective, we'll talk about the lending side and the operational side and the passive side. What due diligence you guys do when you're looking at a prospective deal specifically, just at a higher level, I guess, to start, because we obviously can't get into everything. Brad, let's start with you from the operations side. If you're looking at a brand new mobile home park, what is some of the different things you look at when you're starting to analyze it?
Yeah, so I'll try to make it applicable to other asset classes too. But the big difference from investing in single-family homes to commercial is there's 2 types of due diligence now. It's not just the structure, but there's an income stream due diligence that you need to do, right? So there's physical due diligence, and then there's financial due diligence. And so we generally start early on the financial due diligence because that we can do from our office, right? We can crank through profit and loss statements, balance sheets. Our big one for us is bank statements, right? Because anybody can get you, your nice CPA to give you a nice P&L that looks amazing, but those are just numbers, right? I want to see what actually created the P&L. So you get bank statements from your apartment building, from a retail building, an office building. You want to see what actual revenue is coming in and what expenses are going out, and you recreate their P&L, right? So you can actually see, oh, yeah, they are telling the truth, or they didn't make any mistakes, or they're not hiding capital somewhere.
Which they always do, right?
Which, not on purpose sometimes, right? Sometimes they're trying to do their best and they just, oh yeah, I forgot about this, right? He's owned the property for 40 years, and he or she, and they don't have any debt on it, and so they don't care that much, right? It's, oh yeah, whatever, it's fine. So you want to get bank statements, that's a big one. And then from the physical side, due diligence, generally you're really trying to build a team there. Right? I'm not the guy that is, looking in the pipes and making sure that they're clean and in good shape, right? You want to make sure you have an engineer that goes out and looks at the property. You want an environmental engineer to make sure that quote, phase one, which is making sure that it wasn't a toxic waste dump sometime prior to you buying it, right? You want to make sure that's in order. You want to get an appraisal done for the bank, of course. And so there's a lot of physical aspects that you're going to be hiring these vendors in whatever market you're specializing in. And that's a big part of it, right, is that you are the quarterback and you're trying to get all your players to crank out these reports and give you advice that you can rely on. And that's the hard part. That doesn't come in a month, right? You need to build trust with these guys and girls over, hopefully years, and to the point where, you have the system down and if they give you a report that says it's clean, all right, we're good to go. But when you first start, you might want to hire two, right, guys, two plumbers to go out and check the pipes. Or, just pay extra money to have another environmental engineer look at the prior guy's report just to make sure it's copacetic. So, there's a bit of a runway in terms of building trust in your team to the point where you can get things done faster. So when you're starting out, I always recommend when you lock up a deal, you put it under contract, you get the longest due diligence, the longest contingency period as possible. Because it's going to help you from not only the due diligence standpoint, physical, financial, as you're starting to figure things out, but then it's really going to help you when you go to get your financing, right? Because the bank, they're going to have their own set of requirements, and they never move as fast as you want them to move. So make sure you get a lot of time.
What's standard from a due diligence, close escrow these days?
Well, in my world, it's kind of 30 days due diligence, 30 days financing. But what we do is we try to put in a lot of clauses in the contract that say, hey, look, if we get down to financing and the lender is dragging their feet because of whatever report, we get a 2-3 week extension, but we'll put up, another $20,000 hard, earnest money. Or we'll show you approved letter from the lender saying, hey, we're working on this, we're doing a loan, it's approved, we just need it a little more time. And generally speaking, we're working with sellers that are reasonable and will give us that extra time. But you just don't want to be in a situation, especially if it's your first deal, and we almost had this happen, where you have your shot clock, you have your 60 days, and the seller's like, no, if you don't close in 60 days, I'm taking your earnest money deposit. And that's just the money that you put up to go non-refundable. There's also all the time, effort, and money that you spent that's outside the contract, right? Oh, I had to fly out there. Oh, I hired 6 different consultants that all cost $5,000. We get a survey done. Right? So there's all kinds of expenses that you're paying that you want to make sure that you have a margin of error, margin of safety, in case that seller changes his mind, right? Because maybe he's got another guy that, I'd give you $500,000 more than the guy you had it tied up with, which has happened. So you just want to make sure, or I'll pay all cash. Forget this guy, go with me. So that does happen. So you need to be mindful of just giving yourself a lot of room for error. Because a lot of things are going to pop up in your first deal that you weren't expecting.
We always put in our multifamily contracts that, the due diligence period starts when I get all the financial information, because there's always 2 or 3 things that they don't have that you really need to just pry out of them in one way, shape, or form to get. And it's really interesting what you said about getting two different team members for each category. I've done that a few times, and I have not found a single second team member that doesn't love pointing out every problem with the previous team members, report. So it's great to get that kind of insight.
And then when you go back to the seller, you take the guy who has the highest bid. So like we do the parking lot or the facade of the building, right? And say, hey, look, this is what they say, and then you can renegotiate the purchase contract based on that.
Andrew, from the lending standpoint, what kind of homework do you have to do on some of these properties? I guess you could use an example of one asset class, because it's going to be really hard to do multiple. And what do you have to look at normally when you're analyzing these things?
Yeah, let's use multifamily, so I think it's the easiest, and most people are involved in it or invest in it. There's all of the physical, right, and the bank is going to require everything, and multifamily is going to require the same things as your appraisal, your phase 1. In California, you might do a seismic, so keep that in mind, depending on the type of building you're buying, if it's overhang parking, etc. Some states require a survey, some don't. But if you look at more on the financial stuff, something you always want to look out for, the taxes in the area, right? What's their method of reassessment, how often, what's their mortgage rate? It may not just be pretty standard. I want to dig in a little bit deeper. That might be a bigger expense than you initially thought. You really want to do your own homework. Any property that's on the market or listed by a broker, looking at their OM, their numbers, and you don't know how much homework they've done. And they do a very good job, but you could probably go a little bit deeper, or maybe there's something that the seller forgot, or is showing you a rent roll from 3 months ago when it says it's fully occupied, but they lost a couple of tenants. And you don't know that. What I tell a lot of our clients who are buying some smaller properties in the area, they're newer to multifamily, is A, you want to go see the property, right? You want to get a feel for it. But B, if it was me and I'm buying a multifamily, I'm calling the police department on the street, and that's what the crime rate is in that area. I'm calling property managers, even if you're going to manage it yourself, and asking them if they want to manage the building. What am I missing? Right? I mean, ask the people that know that are in it. All the consultants that you're working with, ask them if I'm sure they've done projects in the area. What are some risks that you see? Have you seen anything crazy? I'm talking to literally everyone that's involved in your transaction and asking them what they see. You're paying them a fee, you should be getting some advice. That's my opinion.
It's funny you mentioned about the police department. We had a panel last year, Jay Massey was here, and one of the things that he talked about is that he'll literally go as cheesy as walking into the local police station with a box of donuts and asking the police about that building. They know, if they're there, they know everything about that building, right? Great source of free due diligence is talking to the local police department.
And I think you hit it right on the head with the tax reassessments and things like that. Most investors, when they're buying a property, don't know when the next tax assessment comes in. It's not always like here in California where it's just reassessed upon sale. Like in Tennessee, for example, it's reassessed every 5 years. And so, you might have a reassessment year, like this year is a reassessment year. And so you have to be careful on that side. And, also when you're looking at your insurance and things like that, you absolutely cannot rely on what they're paying for insurance because they have a lower base and you don't know what their coverage is. And a lot of times they don't cover what needs to be covered. I mean, I have one of my largest investors is my insurance agent, and we have ridiculous coverage on our apartment building, mostly because he sees the domestic violence lawsuits. He sees the dog bite lawsuits that, and he's got to deal with them. So he's sitting there going, no, not anything I own. And you listen to someone like that when they actually see all the problems that occur. And so it's really interesting when you get that assessment from different team members. And so those team members are really, really important when you're analyzing an apartment building to understand what you should have covered and what you shouldn't, and some of the changes that may exist from the pro forma. So Hunter, on your passive side, when you're investing passively with an operator like Brad or something like that, what are some of the due diligence steps you do on the operator as well as the asset and the financials and things like that?
Yeah. So again, we all have different perspectives because we're looking at things differently. So for me, the number one thing that I'm doing due diligence on is the sponsor themselves. Because from my perspective, if I invest in a A-class facility in Beverly Hills that is 100% occupied and the sponsor commits fraud, we're losing money every single time. So it really doesn't matter as much as far as the property, in the scheme of things. So the way that I kind of do that, one of the things I do is run background checks. A lot of that, anything that's come up in the past, that's going to come up. And I will fly to meet operators on site to verify some of the claims. So if we meet in the middle of Kansas City and you claim to own this property, people at the property should know you. And if they do, it's very unlikely that they don't, that they do own the property, right? Another example is, looking at the due diligence that they're doing from a big picture perspective and reading between the lines. So for example, the way that they're underwriting, right? So cap rate compression is something that will increase the IRR of the facility. What that means is, so real estate is traded on the multiple of income. And cap rate is the, depending on how you kind of define it, let's say the cash on cash return that an investor is willing to take when they purchase a property. So the higher the cap rate, the lower the purchase price. And the higher the purchase price, the lower the cap rate, right? So if you input a cap rate compression, that means that you're assuming that the property value is going to appreciate, the market is going to appreciate. So let's say you're buying at a 7 cap, and 10 years later you're selling at a 6 cap. That compression is based on basically market. That's very hard to predict, and if they're assuming that, the IRR is going to be boosted. So what we like to look for is 0.25, 0.5, 0.75 cap rate expansion during the hold period. This will put operators in a position to under-promise and over-deliver. And that's really the theme of all due diligence. Are they putting themselves in a position to over-promise and under-deliver, or other way around? Because if you're an investor and they under-promise and over-deliver, you're great. If they over-promise and under-deliver, it's like catastrophic. Like the difference, it's like it's completely binary. So we want to look for things in their underwriting model that put them in a position to do that. And then, I can go on, this is like all I do all night, basically. But, looking at the legal documents as well, it's very boring. It's definitely not one of my strengths as a great attorney, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But generally speaking, do the legal documents match up with the executive summary? So are you actually signing a document that looks like the marketing material that they sent? Capital call provisions are extremely important. In the event of a capital call, what happens? Do you just get, if in the event of a capital call, is it that you get diluted on a 1-to-1 ratio for people that voluntarily want to invest? Or in the event of a capital call, do the operators own your next 3 children at a 12% interest rate and will seize your bank account? I mean, you see crazy stuff like that. And if they have something in there like that, it's good to ask them, make sure that they understand that, and if they put that in there on purpose, just pass. So,
Something like that, just on sponsorship. The advantage of being a passive investor is that you don't get scrutinized by the bank, right? If you own, depends on the bank, but depending on less than 20 or 25%, say the LLC owns the property, you don't have to disclose your financials unless they need to make it. As a sponsor, you're going in, most likely they're going to want to know what you have for breakfast. They're normally have requirements, right? They usually want to bring net worth, maybe 10% liquidity contingency as well. It can be higher, it can be lower. It all depends, but you get to avoid all that. So if you're a passive investor, you're doing diligence not only on the property potentially in the market, but also on the sponsor, especially if you're a first-time investor. You want to know his track record, you want to know his resume. I talk to other investors if you can, find out what they've done and how to do it, because you're right. They know that you don't want to leave it to the bank to do that diligence. That should be done to you as well as the investor.
Bottom line is, do your homework on the person you're investing with is much more important than doing the homework on the property, even though the property is important as well. The homework on the person you're investing with and their track record and talking to their previous investors and things like that, and doing the background checks, like Hunter said. I mean, that saved me a few times. I know it saved Hunter, and you start to realize if there's something weird on there, then you can if they haven't disclosed it up front, then you have a little bit of ethics issue right there. There's a lot of things you can do from the operator perspective to start off with, even before before you start to do the due diligence on the property in itself.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so.
Just to add that, background checks, you know, things are going to come up sometimes. So if you're working with someone that had a lot of foreclosures or a few foreclosures in 2008 and 9, we can have that conversation and that can be justified. But if you have 60 people suing you, this is something that I have found extremely not good. 60 people that are suing you for $5,000. That means that you made them so mad. They know they're not going to win money. They just want to make a statement and make sure that I know when I run the background check not to work with you, right? So that's like one of the things that we're not having any more phone calls. That's the other thing.
Any questions? We've been going here. Yeah, go ahead.
On it, if you look at background checks on people, you'll need somebody's social security number, right?
Nope. You need their name, you need their address, and it's helpful to have their date of birth, right?
Oh.
Yeah, use it with that. You're not running a credit check. Right. If you go through Andrew, you're going to have your social because they're going to want to run credit. But on background checks, usually it's just their name, their date of birth, and their address. And I think all you really need is their name and their address. That's usually enough.
Right, and with more information, the more accurate it's going to be to make sure you're getting the right person.
I think it's also important when first of all, tell the person you're going to run the background check, and then ask them, is there anything that's going to come up on this background check that you want to discuss ahead of time? That's another character moment, right? Like, because some people will say, yeah, listen, look, I had this foreclosure in 2008, this happened. You're like, okay, great, you run their check. Some people won't say it. They know it's there. They're just hoping maybe it doesn't pop up on the background check, right? And then you still have to have the conversation. Well, that's a character moment, right? And you know, as we've talked about here, you're placing a lot of faith because you're getting some diversification, but you're losing control. So you want to make sure the person that you're giving that control to is of high character.
Just try to
I use TLO also for the background check company. You have to typically get signed up for the TLO as the name of the company.
Just to add one quick thing, because this is basically the entire thing from a past investor's perspective. I can give you kind of one example that will paint the picture very clearly. So I'm just looking for cues as to whether, again, they're over-promising and under-delivering. One of the amazing tells, your sponsor goes or yours, this is like a secret. If they, let's give you an example. Let's say that they're projecting an 18% IRR, right? And I get on the phone with them, and after an hour, I'm kind of heckling them and trying to see what the high end of that projection is. And they say, okay, 22% IRR. If these things go well, we're able to implement these strategies. We think we can get to 22%. Then later on another call, I go, well, yeah, well, you're confident we're going to get to a 22% IRR. And they go, whoa, I said 18. That's a good sign. If they say, yeah, that's right, 22%, no problem. Then you see how the difference of conservative to aggressive can change very quickly. So.
We had a question back here, and then I'll go over here. Yeah.
I was just curious, I noticed you guys are doing most of your investing outside of LA. So is that mostly because you're chasing cash flow, and then are you seeing the commensurate, asset appreciation outside of California that we are here? So are you guys trading cash flow for appreciation, basically?
I'll take that one. So we are not focused on appreciation, just market appreciation, as say probably most California investors are. We focus on cash flow first, right? Because we're really risk averse. We focus on cash flow first, and the appreciation that we try to get is driven by operations and improvements to the property, like buying a 75% occupied property, getting it to 90, 95. That's what we try to drive value, raising rents, cutting operating expenses. From buying, property from mom and pop that may not be maximizing the financials because they've owned it for 30 years and they don't have to. So that's our focus for appreciation. So, but yes, if you were going to buy, an apartment building in Michigan, I certainly wouldn't expect it to double in appreciation if it was 100% occupied when I bought it. Whereas in California, you never know, right? You could get a ton of appreciation there.
Forced appreciation is always, the much better method to go. I mean, you could invest in the right time in California and try to time the market right and be able to get that major appreciation that California gets when the market is good. But at the same time, if all the other fundamentals of the asset in itself and the cash flow don't make financial sense, or it's not producing a high enough cash flow return, which a lot of the assets in California don't, sometimes that might be a play for once you're already financially free and you don't need any cash flow at all, then go that method and go for the because in California, a lot of times if you buy like a single family home or something like that, you're going to get like virtually no cash flow versus, you know, multifamily right now, where they're trading at like 3 caps and 2 caps, you know, or 4 caps and 5 in Long Beach possibly. So, I mean, you've got to look at the underlying characteristics and then say, okay, am I at the right time to invest in a market like California that's going to have that major uptick, that hope we get that appreciation. But I would personally never invest in something that just for that you know, market appreciation versus the forced appreciation that I think is more controllable.
Yeah, and I'd even say before that, you have to look at yourself, right? Like if you are an investor that needs cash flow instantly, buying in California is going to be difficult. There are a lot of people that are looking for cash flow eventually. Buying in California makes a lot of sense, right? Because you are going to get long-term appreciation, and then over time, because you've got debt that you can fix for longer periods of time, rents go up, you will get cash flow eventually. So all investing starts with a bit of a self-analysis. Like, what is it you're trying to accomplish right now, and what are you trying to accomplish in the long term? And if you need cash flow, then you might want to look outside of California. If you don't need the cash flow right now, you're looking for growing your assets through appreciation and getting cash flow at some point in time, then California makes a lot of sense. Kyle, you had a question?
Yeah. So Hunter, one of the things you had mentioned that drew you to commercial real estate was some of the ancillary kind of income lines that can come into play on those type of properties. So you could speak more on that, like first thought power, expenses, or parking, or whatever else.
Yeah, definitely. So, especially during the ends of the economic cycle, I think it's a really good idea to have low risk and, on a scale of things, low risk value add components. What I mean specifically is low capital expenditure value add components. So self-storage is an incredible example of this. 2 reasons. The first one is U-Haul. So it's customary for top tier operators to have a relationship with U-Haul, so that if you have a property that's 100,000 square feet, you allow U-Haul to park 30 or 40 U-Haul trucks on their facility. You rent those trucks out to your tenants, and U-Haul will give you commission for facilitating that transaction. Now, a facility that's large enough to handle this, and an operator that knows how to utilize this effectively, that can add $3,500 a month directly to your bottom line with no capital expenditure. It's just a matter of teaching the property manager how to implement the strategy. So $3,500 a month times 12 divided by a 7 cap, it's like $600,000 in value you're adding very quickly. And this is something that will happen within 3 months as the property manager learns how to implement. Another thing is mandatory tenant insurance. So again, top tier operators, they have a relationship with these self-storage insurers, and they will mandate that all the tenants have tenant insurance, which is similar to renter's insurance. The commission can bring in another $1,500 a month. So again, $1,500 a month times 12 divided by 7 cap, $250,000 in value add. And those 2 strategies, there's a lot of self-storage facilities out there that are not utilizing this at all. And so because commercial real estate trades on a multiple of income, you can buy a facility without those things, implement those things, no capital expenditure, and add that value immediately. And the benefit of this is tremendous, especially towards the end of the cycle, because the major thing, and I want to get your perspective on this as well, the major thing with real estate, the number one thing that you'll hear when people have really serious horror stories, 99% of them have to do with liquidity. So the issue is that you want to increase the NOI, add value to the property so that in the event of a liquidity crisis, if cap rates expand, if values go down, and the LTVs that they're willing to lend also go down, they can be held. But if you're adding $850,000 of value within the first 3 months, you're going to mitigate this problem. Great question. Thanks.
Can I add something to that too? Just on one interesting strategy that I've seen more recently than not is putting on the multifamily side is actually putting a requirement for tenant insurance within the lease. And so what you do is you put it in the lease. Most people don't have it, but what the lease says is if you don't have it, I'll give you a policy for X dollars. And there's providers out there, it's like $11, $15 a month, maybe the tenant that just goes on top of their rent. That provider will literally pay you like $7 per tenant that puts it on, and they keep the rest of the spread, which is pretty incredible.
Question?
So
storage facility on one side, like a golf course on the other side.
Yeah.
Senior care facility right in the middle.
Yeah.
And a school or hospital right in. What if it's, you're putting all of it into like one deal?
No, it's interesting. The thing you need to be careful about with that is that if you're going to hold that forever, it's going to be in your family for generations. Great. If you want to refinance that, or more particularly, if you want to go to sell that, your buyer pool just went like this, right? Because who can buy 500 acres with 4 different asset, classes on that site? We certainly can't, even if there was a mobile home park there, right? We buy mobile home parks. Maybe it has a self-storage facility, but it's like 10% of the income. Sure, we can do that. But so you really limit your sale options, your exit strategy, right? And so when you're buying anything, you always want to know, how do I get out, right? If we have to, because life changes, things come up. So I would just be careful about it.
Cool. Let's move on to acquisitions. In particular, you all acquire differently, right? Like you're looking to acquire borrowers, or Brad, you're looking to acquire property and investors, and really you're looking to acquire both investors as well as operators, right? So talk about acquisition, what that means to you, and how you guys find what you need. And Hunter, why don't you start off?
So there's some rules about investing in securities and how you market for that. So we have the capacity to do that with 506B, which is for accredited investors only. So we are sourcing investors through a lot of networking events, and really we got started with word of mouth and referrals from there. And just recently we started doing our first marketing campaign to bring in investors through the 506B compliant funnel, which allows us to build a relationship with them prior to soliciting any specific investments. And we're really cautious about that for a lot of reasons. And there's some benefits for the securities issues as well. I don't want to go down that trail now, but as far as sourcing operators, this is kind of the bottleneck of my business because we essentially almost work exclusively with operators we had investors refer to us. I'm on all the crowdfunding websites. I'm on every single one of them. And I see a lot of bad deals out there. There's so many poorly underwritten deals out there that it's just gross. And so it's hard to source great operators. So if you just tell me, oh, Matt.
By the way, do you guys know what crowdfunding is? Is there a general understanding of that? Yes. So basically, for those that aren't, is that there are online companies now that are taking these kinds of deals and raising money online versus, probably the way Hunter does it, probably the way Brad does it is more one-on-one relationship. It allows investors to get in for smaller chunks of money, and also be more diversified and spread out. And for doing that service, whoever the crowdfunding source is will take a share of the profits. Which is great, but at the same time, a lot of these companies are raising a lot of capital and have a lot of expectation and need to fill pipeline to satisfy all the money they're raising, which is why some of them are putting some questionable deals up just because they've got buyers and they need something to sell them. So be careful what you see on those websites.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. When 3 years ago when these firms started popping up, we reached out to a couple of just we're trying to learn about it, and it seems like an efficient way to raise capital. It certainly is when it works out. We were a fairly new entity at that point, and the crowdfunding sites had pretty strict requirements. They wanted to see sponsors that had kind of $100 million of asset value experience with their own entity, not like me. I have billions, but working for other people. They wanted to see it. Your name's on the line. You were running the deal. So at that point, we didn't have $100 million, and I said, okay, fine, we'll do it ourselves. But now, all of a sudden, that $100 million is going down to $25 million, and we can sometimes waive that. So we don't need them as much anymore. But it's funny to see the competition and the need to put money to work has certainly reduced the requirements that they're looking for in sponsors. So the great thing about what Hunter's doing is that if you think about, if you're a passive investor and you're not a real estate expert, you don't live in this world like full-time every day looking at self-storage, retail, apartments, everything, then how do you know what's a great deal? And if you were investing in the stock market, not everybody knows how to underwrite great stocks, so they put their money with an ETF or a mutual fund or a hedge fund advisor who does that thing every day, right? So there's no real advisor for the private equity, small balance real estate world, right? Hunter's basically creating that. Part of his company is doing just that, is that he's looking at the world and he's, as he said, curating, I like that word, these deals for investors like yourselves. And so I think that is actually a trend that you'll see continue, whereas more and more people become comfortable with passive real estate investments as part of their overall portfolio. You'll start to see firms and people help them pick winners and losers, because it's hard unless you're spending all day on this.
And I think that we're going to see some issues when the market does correct. You're going to see a lot of these crowdfunding platforms that didn't have good deals on their site take some major hits, and there may be some new regulation and things like that as associated with those hits. We'll see what happens, but a lot of those deals on those sites don't make sense, and they're not run by good operators, and the structures are not right. And so when there is a correction, those are the deals that they're going to have major lawsuits for, and there's going to be major uproar about. And so keep your eyes open for when that correction occurs. You're going to see those operators take those hits.
We're actually doing a panel, I believe it's in April or May. Matt, I'm sitting here trying to remember. We're doing a whole panel on nothing but crowdfunding and syndication. So Jillian Hellman, maybe one of her attorneys from Realty Mogul, which is one of the leading sources in crowdfunding, is going to be a panelist. Jeremy Roll, I'm sure many of you know, is going to be one of the panelists, and I forget who the third panelist is going to be, but we'll have that information up. So it's an interesting way to invest in commercial, because you can get in for like $5s or $10s of thousands of dollars versus $25,000 and $100,000s of dollars. So just keep an eye on our schedule for later in the year. Let's get back to acquisitions though. So Brad, why don't you talk about, I'm curious for you, because you're buying parks, how are you identifying deals, what's your methodology for that, and then how are you finding investors for your deals as well?
Yeah, so starting with the real estate, it's not easy. When we first started, it was really cold calling brokers, because my viewpoint is, okay, we could go after the fish, which is the property owners, or we could go after the fishermen, right, that are going after all the fish. Because I can't be in every market. I can't get to know every single mobile home park owner in Michigan, Ohio, North Carolina. So we were pretty thoughtful about picking up the phone, introducing ourselves. We had a presence online, even though we were just starting, right? You got to put up a shingle, right? Say you're in business, because people want to see that, oh, this person is targeting this asset class, and it seems like they're being thoughtful about it. Because what the broker worries about is, all he cares or she cares about is this deal going to close, right? Am I going to get my commission? Which is what they should be worried about. That's why they get paid. So when you're first starting out, you want to make sure that you know what you're talking about, you've done some research, and you give that broker confidence that, oh, if he shows you, or he or she shows you an off-market deal, you're going to follow through, you're going to close. And so we spent a lot of time building out a database. All brokers that specialize in mobile home parks across the country, mostly the markets that we like. And then we found the phones and did that. And we did an email campaign where we reach out to them quarterly. And slowly that starts to gain a little steam, right? It's like you close one deal with that broker, then all of a sudden he's sending you all the deals that he sees, because he knows that you follow through. So we did a lot of that. We dabbled with mailers. Haven't been that successful with mailers. We've gotten a couple of leads, but most of the time the mailers, if somebody's calling you because they want to offload their deal, there's probably something wrong with that deal, right? So that hasn't been that successful, but what has worked really well for us is building out a database of what I call bird dogs, which are people that are in these markets just like the brokers are, that are looking for these type of deals, and they will actually tie them up and put them under contract, and then essentially flip it to us, right? So that's a strategy that works pretty well. But for the most part, it's probably 60% just brokers, just giving us kind of what I call pocket listings, which are most of you guys probably know are deals that don't necessarily hit LoopNet or the websites. But they are, quote, marketed, but they only go to 5 or 6 guys, right, that the broker is comfortable with, that he knows they're going to close and give a reasonable So that's been our most successful path. And from an acquisition of investor standpoint, for those of you who are looking for investors, you know, it's when we first started, that was the challenge, right? We were an unknown entity, so we tried to focus on the deal first, right? And once we had the deal tied up with a very long contract period, then we put together our presentation, and we went friends and family first, which you kind of have to. And then, you know, deal after deal, it got a lot easier, right? Oh, these guys have a track record, these first deals were going well, the first investors told their friends, word of mouth, and now it's not really as difficult, right? It's more focusing on building up the systems and the company and focusing on the property, and, you know, we still do some fundraising efforts, but it's not as immediate and as urgent as it was when we were first starting. So it kind of goes back to the point where I was talking about at the beginning. If you specialize and you stay at it, that's the key, right? The first one is really tough. The second investor is also tough, but the 50th investor is pretty easy.
Andrew?
Mine's pretty simple. Most of my business comes from referrals. A lot of repeat customers. That's the best way. I mean, people that do business with you and then introduce you to their friends and folks that they say, hey, you got to work with this guy. I mean, those are always the easiest ones and the best relationships. In this business, there's a lot of legal work. There are purchase and sale contracts. There are loan documents. There's a lot of things that require an attorney's set of eyes. And so we built a really nice syndication of attorneys that we work with. And so having that relationship is mutually beneficial. So they're really good when folks are, they'll bring them and they'll ask them, you know, who's doing your financing and who you're working with. We're always the first name out of their mouth, which is, it goes a long way. When, you know, they have an attorney client trust like that, they trust who they're looking at. I do an interesting thing on some deals with my longtime clients where I will actually roll my fee into a deal if they're looking correctly. So there's a lot of, you know, a lot of folks work with mortgage brokers and mortgage bankers. We don't work for free, and so they're probably paying a fee somewhere. The beauty of us is, you know, most of our lenders that we work with on the life co side, par is going to be your paying to us. If it's a good deal and they want partners, then I look as I'd rather be a long-term partner in that deal than just a one-off transaction. And so if they're open to it, I'm happy to say, well, hey, you're already paying me, why don't you put it in as equity, and we'll do the deal together. That way you know we're getting the best deal. And so that goes a long way with some people. It's more of a sign of trust than anything. It's great for me. I'm looking to buy and hold and pass it for a long, long time. I'm 31, I have some gray hair, but I got a long ways to go. So, yeah, that's really it. It's really just relationships. It's being out there, and I like to get my name out there. I like to speak on certain things, but reputation goes a long, long way. And so there are many times where, you know, well, I'll never tell you it's a bad deal, but I would say that we can do better. And we help you do that. And we can see if I can contact some folks and find something that you might be more interested in investing in. And I prefer to do it that way instead of just saying, sure, we can get the deal done. But if I believe in the deal, then I'll let the client do it.
Yeah, question here.
Question, what percentage do you see as cash buyers, 1031 exchanges, DB5 financing? Are you seeing some of that in the marketplace?
He'll probably be better to answer than me on that.
Yeah, cash buyers I don't see them because they don't get financing. Actually, I take that back. No, cash buyers are a huge part of my business because a lot of folks will go in cash, so they'll win the deal early. They might even get a discount, and then they'll come back immediately after and they'll refinance their equity out and move on to the next deal. So we do see that a fair amount. I've heard the horror stories of folks just like us trying to go out and buy things, and they get cut out by an all-cash buyer. So it happens all the time. A lot of 1031 exchange money I'm seeing right now. There was obviously, you know, 05, 06, 07. Those were the good old days. And so a lot of those folks, they're trying to roll that investment into the next one, especially with debt coming due that was maybe 10-year fixed or things like that. So we're seeing a ton of that, and then they're trying to place the next deal. The hard part is there's not a ton of great deals. some folks don't care, right? They'll just put it in the deal. We're not tax advisors or legal advisors, but we would advise clients when we crunch the numbers. We say, you might want to talk to your CPA about this. It might be more beneficial to take the tax in than to buy this property. Honestly, do your homework. And the EB5 money, we don't see a ton of it. We see it on really big projects mostly. We've done couple $100 million acquisitions or developments here in California and also outside. So we saw some there. It's not everywhere, but you do see it. I don't really see it on the smaller level as much.
We see a lot of international buyers buying singles and smaller balance multis in cash, and then at the same time, a ton of 1031 money just needs replacement property. It's urgent stuff. So we piece deals together with seller financing and strategically structure the deals for them. But then the EB5 money, I mean, it's very, very rare. I mean, they have so many requirements for that. It's almost like, I mean, it's available, but it's almost like a myth. It doesn't really exist because it's so backed up, and there's so, we deal with investors from China and Japan all the time that, want that, they want deals for EB5, but at the same time, you got to create so many jobs. You have to have a long-term play for that. I mean, there's a lot of little requirements that they have to deal with, and so it's just easier to go without the EB5. The biggest challenge with international clients, a lot of times in China, is getting the money out of the country. They got to go through underground channels sometimes and, deal with that. And a lot of them have their money here already. And so, if they already are doing business here back and forth, it makes it a lot easier. But, dealing with EB5 money, we pursued it, and that's why, but it's almost like that unicorn that is very hard to find,
We actually have a broker who brokers those, specifically EB5. EB5 is a program where if you're a foreign national, if you invest, I think $500,000 is the minimum, you have to create a certain number of jobs, and if you do that, you get a expedited path to citizenship. So it's people that are buying their way into United States citizenship. Curious to see what happens with our new administration in EB5. Stay tuned.
On a non-EB5 level, we have financing for foreign nationals. So there are folks out there that do far between, and they're buying honestly. Say again.
What kind of leverage?
Honestly, right now, this was probably a year and a half ago, but I can get back to you on that.
We've seen stuff on the multifamilies and the 40%, 50% down level, and sometimes the money can be a little bit more expensive, of course, too. But it's a lot of times it's easier for them to partner with the U.S. operator and deal with it that way as more of a passive investor, just to get better financing. We deal with a lot of seller financing international clients, and I could care less, what the risk profile is if they're putting 50% down on a deal or even 40% down. It's not going to hurt me as the operator at all, but definitely it's available. And what he's saying on the EB5 money, you're not getting anybody that is going to. You're not going to find a deal that works for EB5 for just $500,000. You need to go and put multiple $500,000 investors together on a huge project to make a deal like that.
And it generally has to be kind of an operating component to it because you need to create the job. So hotels work really well for it.
Real high brand hotels.
Yeah.
This is like Hollywood type of stuff, big stuff. Okay, so we've talked a lot about, you got a question about?
Andrew, I got a question for you. So, you're sitting across the table from very savvy investors. So what kind of trends are you seeing and what kind of moves do you see that you think are the smartest moves at this point in the market?
Good question. I think it depends where and why. Every strategy is different, right? There are folks that only do certain niches and it works for them and they find the markets that they're doing well in. If we're going to talk about the local market, my house is in West LA and we overlook a ton of rooftops that are 12 to 20 unit buildings, and those are bread and butter if you're looking to have 5 and 6 cash on cash return for the next 100 years. The industrial market in Los Angeles is always tight. Personally, I think if you look at a market for multifamily, especially in the large metropolitan areas, they're almost always undersupplied. Obviously, look at the new development going in, but even here in Los Angeles, especially in downtown, there's a ton of units coming online, and they're still desperately undersupplied. You can't tell me people aren't going to live in them. I realize rents may not be as high as they were last year, but people need to live. So I'm looking at something it's also, my personal opinion, where most of my investments go to the passive side or multifamily. I just think it's something that's long term.
So Andrew, you mentioned earlier that there's this huge amount of growing lending on the student housing space. Are those people that are already in the space buying more and more? Are people from other commercial assets moving into the student housing space?
Both. We see some folks that are some huge operators now, all over the country, huge in the southeast, especially Texas, and then you have people that have never done it before, would have a multifamily experience going in, converting either existing assets or ones they own into student housing. Some of it's when they're on that lower level, they're not sanctioned by the universities, but they can still charge per bed as opposed to per room. So you're seeing a little bit of both, but I'm seeing, say again?
Per bed, discuss per bed versus per room.
Sure, so for student housing, you really charge by the bed. And so if it's dormitory style, you have two beds in a bedroom, maybe 4 beds, right? It depends on how the layout is. And there are certain standards required, right? You have to have the bathroom and the kitchen for X amount of people. And from a financing perspective, especially on the agency side, they have certain requirements, so make sure that you're buying that you're converting. But we're seeing both sides.
Brad, on the mobile home park side, say once you've acquired a building and gone through all the due diligence and all that stuff, what is your, can you explain a little bit about the implementation strategy that you deploy, as well as what the quarterly or monthly management looks like of a large project like that, and what are the tasks and the things that need to get done on a monthly basis, and how do you implement the strategies?
Yes, this will work for several asset classes, but so when you first buy a property, we're kind of generally we're buying from one-off operators, mom and pop that won't do it forever. And so they're not, there's no website, right? There's no, they're collecting cash, right, and rent. There's just not systems in place to maximize operations if you live in those states, right? So we have our asset manager who comes in, and there's a couple people that work on, getting it registered on the websites, doing ads if there's going to be vacant ads. We're making sure that everybody has the ability to pay online, apply online. I mean, it's just basic stuff. But, like I said, self-storage just works. Even a small office property in the Midwest will work even here if you find the right deal. You want to make sure that you're just doing kind of the basic stuff really well. And so we kind of have 60 days it takes us to get everything kind of running smoothly. We have the manager or the new manager we always interview, make sure we're getting the best person in that area. And we have them, film the property once a month, and then upload the film so people in California can view it. So there's just a lot of you got to crank through these things, and it takes a lot of time. First one, it takes you 3 months because you don't know how to do any of it, but you start hiring, assistants or virtual people to help you out with some of the basic stuff, and then you get it done pretty quickly, and it's not so intimidating.
One of the keys of mobile home parks is that they operate on monthly lease renewals, right? So when they buy a park, within 30, 60, 90 days, the property that's very poorly managed can turn around amazingly fast. From a rental perspective, and also just removing problem tenants. I'm sure you'll back me up on this. 99% of the time, when you think of all the problems that come with owning a mobile home park, it's for people that don't pay on time or don't pay at all. And when you can remove those people within 30 days, magically it turns into something that looks more like a retirement community than just something that's run down.
Question?
Yeah, a question on student housing. So there's a number of kind of demographic shifts going on. The millennial generation is currently famous, and then the Generation Z, it's kind of the next generation coming and going into colleges. And between that declining demographic shift, and there's been a couple of high-profile bankruptcies at ITT recently. Is that a concern for kind of REITs and envelope of student housing?
Something tells me he's still lending regardless of those factors.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, it's cyclical, right? I mean, as is everything. We see school closures a fair amount. I think the largest universities, if you're looking at it
And Uber everywhere.
And Uber everywhere. They're building those. I don't know personally, but I guess maybe I'm probably the best person to ask. I think from a student housing perspective, it's similar to multifamily. You get 12 months of rental. People think you want to get 9. You don't. You do. Majority of the time, folks end up staying in the summer, especially people living off campus, off the university provided housing, because they want to stay there for the summer. They have internships, they're doing things. They're really not as much upkeep as people might say. It's probably the same as multifamily, the mobile home parks, though. So it's a good asset class, and there's definitely a lot of money piling into it. I think it's probably pretty speeded up, and so it's now the time to get in.
I can definitely tell you it's a lot of fun staying in Santa Barbara during the summer. Speaking of the issues that could come with this down the line, after a loan closes and you funded the loan and everything, and it's they're implementing their strategies. What are the things you as the lender need to do to keep up with that operator, and what are some of the requirements you have of the operator to actually give you information or provide you what you need?
Yeah, so most loans will have annual or quarterly reports that they require on the financial side. If it's a rehab or value add play, we're going to want to see that you're hitting certain thresholds along the way, right? Because if we're financing both the acquisition price and your improvements that you're doing, we want to make sure that you're actually executing. If you can do it within the timeline that you said, and if you haven't hit those times, or you haven't hit those marks along the way, the lender's not going to be too happy. You probably have to work something out with them. So there's definitely periodic checks that people do. We want to make sure that we're both going to get the plan. No lenders in the business of owning property unless maybe you're a hard money guy. And even still, it's a lot of work. People don't want to foreclose, especially in California. It's a single action state. If it's a recourse loan, you're going to go out to the borrower, you're going to take the property. It's a toss-up, right? Yeah, there's definitely inconveniences, right? But you're also at 4 and 4.5% right now. You're stealing money.
Hunter, on your side, once you've funded a deal from the passive perspective side, what do you do to manage those operators and understand what your returns are and understand how the asset is running to protect yourself?
Once you fund, I watch a lot of Netflix.
Documentaries about the bubble and all that stuff?
In all seriousness, from a passive investor standpoint, honestly, it should be extremely passive once you fund. That's the whole point of the entire. That's exactly what we're trying to offer to investors. So all the work is front loaded. All the work is up to that point. So, however, of course, we take it a little bit more seriously than our investors, right? So we are number one, we're reading all the quarterly reports. But we're still continuing to build a relationship with the sponsors. So we will follow up and make sure that the property has changed significantly before the purchase and after the purchase. So the value add strategies that we can implement it. And, just continue to build a relationship with the operator. It's all about the personal relationship. So.
Didn't you travel to a couple of parks once you'd been into them for a couple of years?
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yeah, that was a good example just earlier, talking about the difference in 60 and 90 days. So there are little things with mobile home park operators that they can implement, like do something simple that it's not very doesn't cost a lot of capital expenditure. Painting all the mailboxes the same color, something like that. It adds a lot of value and it kind of makes everyone's attitude change a little bit. Removing trash with mobile home parks is a big issue. So if you can just remove the trash out of there and feed people that are leaving trash out there, that's another example. Something else I do, I'm kind of a pain because as passive, I take more seriously than most passive investors, right? So I will show up to properties uninvited and then talk to the sponsor about the nature of the property and just continue to verify that their claims are accurate and why I'm
Hunter talked a lot before about the pro forma, right? Like making sure someone is under-promising and over-delivering. That's probably a critical part as well, is tracking their success. If they are overperforming, understanding why, and more importantly, if they're underperforming on numbers that you hoped were going to be conservative, what's the issue? And like when that happens, how does that conversation go with the sponsor?
Yeah, that's a for underperformance, and it's important to contact the sponsor and figure out what's going on. And usually, like I'll give you a great example. I invested in a retail shopping center that has a Radio Shack, and the Radio Shack is going bankrupt, so they're not paying rent. So it's 100,000 square feet. I think they have 2,000 square feet, right? So no one cares but me. So I call them, what's going on? Like, it's not even affecting cash, it doesn't even matter. But the important part is that the sponsor should have really good answers that align with their original conservative assumptions. So a great answer to that question is, this isn't really bad news. Radio Shack was in an under-market lease in the first place, so we're going to have them out in 3 months, and they're going to bump that rent up to market rate. That's great news.
Question?
Leverage real estate, yeah, so leverage real estate, we're looking for the mid-teens to high teens. And then that's
IRR.
IRR, yes. Mid-teens to high teens, and that's, like I said, value add to stabilize. Stabilize isn't really happening right now as far as being able to acquire those, but just to give you an overall perspective, as the cycle changes, so does the investment strategy. You can make those returns investing in Texas multifamily in 2009, 10, 11, 12, in properties that were 80% occupied, just basically buying the in-place cash flow and watching the cap rate compression take place. That, on a risk-adjusted basis, that's incredibly favorable. Now, as things have changed, I'm looking more for the non-capital expenditure value-add plays, and raising rents, and this is something that these guys are really good at, identifying properties that are incredibly mismanaged and quickly adding value by raising rents and increasing occupancy.
And keep in mind that high teens play he's talking about primarily has to do with some cash flow, and usually in the beginning of a value add play you get a lot less cash flow, especially if you're putting a big chunk of capital into it versus most of that high teen return is on the back end sale through forced appreciation, not just assuming it's going to go up in value or anything like that, right? So you're talking about usually in the first 3 to 4 years of an investment like that, having a below average cash flow return as you implement the strategies, and then it ramping up substantially from the cash flow because you just got those things implemented.
And Matt, I'll add to that too. So especially on the multifamily side and the mobile home park side, you're looking at doing a 7 or 10 year fixed loan. We're mostly seeing some period of interest only beginning to 3 years, something like that. And so that helps with that cash flow, especially in the beginning. It gives you the opportunity to maybe do your work, do your improvements, jack the rents, and so by the time P&I kicks in year 2 or 3 or whatever it is, you're seeing if you're caught up or you're above it, you're beating inflation as well.
And I think it's important to actually add to that in the beginning when you first start those types of deals, it can be hard with the lending side because it cash flows a lot less. And so sometimes it's a lot better to do that cash flow and then refinance and get much better leverage and better terms on those things. Like we did a 30-unit apartment complex we're into for about 1.1, and a year later it's, after implementing and rehabbing all the units and everything, it's worth about 1.75. And so, you can do strategies like that on a smaller scale. I don't do really large apartment buildings mostly because I don't want to expand my team too much. It's too much work to manage that many people. but at the same time, you can have these little value add plays. I mean, we did a 19 unit that we bought for $149 grand that needed a $600,000 renovation. It was completely vacant. We got really lucky and got a bank loan for $550,000 at 4.75% a point, and now it's worth 1.7. It's ridiculous. But that's a hard deal. We had to go to a local lender. No one else would touch it because it's 100% vacant, and it's a huge loan to take on the construction side. And so, in the beginning, some of these value-add plays can be difficult on the financing side unless you have really good relationships or people that are creative that can do the construction loans, that understand what they're doing. And for us, it took a local lender that knew the market to actually do that, And so those types of plays can be hard, and so it's important sometimes to learn how to raise private capital to be able to piece that deal together differently and make that happen.
Brian, I know you're not checking the pipes and collecting rents and telling them to put their oil-leaking cars away. How do you manage your portfolio? I assume you're managing managers of your real estate. Talk about that process and how you take that and report that back to investors.
Yeah, so the nice thing is that once you buy a property, it scales nicely because generally you're buying an employee, they're independent contractor, but there's somebody who's on site at the property that's currently managing the property, and we either hire them or we'll interview, other tenants in the park to see if they might be a better candidate. So that is the on-site person, right? And then there is at corporate, right? There's an asset manager who is managing the property manager, and then there is the partners who are managing the asset manager, right? So there's a couple other people that help out with the day-to-day stuff like the bookkeeper, who's making sure the rents are coming in, reporting them, and then there we have marketing people that keep the websites updated and post ads, write lists, and of course there's the crews that help us out when there's a capital project that needs to get done. Maybe there's a house that we took back that needs to get renovated and sold. Most of the homes we own, 93% of the homes are owned by the tenants. But there is an extended team, and so the idea is because we're running it out of California, it's kind of a hub and spoke system where you're trying to make sure that you have right people in place to manage the property managers, and if your asset managers are doing a good job, the property managers are doing a good job, and the rents are coming in on time.
Question?
So as a mobile home park, you're more of an HOA, you're renting out that space basically.
We're like a glorified parking lot with infrastructure.
Okay, so
We own the land, we own the utilities, the land, they own the structure.
All right.
Well, you guys own some structures too, right? Isn't that
Yeah, we own a few homes. There's some markets that it's just tougher for the tenants to own their own home. There's not a lot of used home inventory, and the newer homes are more expensive, tougher to qualify for. But the basic business model is for us is owning the land where your operating expenses are a lot lower, of course, right? There's no facade to maintain. You don't have to paint anything, right? It's just keep a nice, clean park, make sure the tenants are adhering to the rules, try to keep a safe community, and collect the rent on time. Yeah.
So you have like a physical building on the property,
Some of them we have, some of them we have management. Yeah, some of them we have a management office, but most of them, the management office is the manager's home, and we don't keep office hours, right? It's, generally they're there to collect rent.
So you don't actually build a structure?
We don't. Yeah, most of our parks, they're not retirement communities on the Florida coast where there's bocce ball and tennis courts. They are affordable housing communities where people just need a nice, safe, clean place to live for their family at a reasonable rate, and we take pride in providing that.
They can go on a cruise ship when they play bocce ball,
Yeah,
right?
they're retired.
All right, so it's getting closer. We're going to start wrapping up. There's two questions we're going to ask. First one is just talking about some pitfalls that you've seen as investors. So talk about some pitfalls and maybe one key lesson that you've learned, just one, over time. Hunter, why don't you go first?
Sure, it's very simple. I took a pretty small bet on someone that was not experiencing the asset class, and that was me. It was single family. That was the end. It was a common mistake. I invested out of state. The cap rates looked really great, and buying a property that rents for $600 a month, buy a property for $30,000. For me, that sounds amazing. Even with a 50% expense ratio, you're still making $3,000 a year or so. But the problem is, if you have to fly there once, it's basically over. And if the property manager is only making $50 or $100 a month, he's not really incentivized it's not really in his favor to really do anything, right? So what I like to do is defer to someone like their expertise, where they have a lot to gain from delivering, right? So, yeah.
So you're basically saying that you let you down? That's your key lesson?
Yeah, I'll never make that mistake.
Don't anyone ever invest with Hunter in single family, Class C single family out of state?
How do you educate yourself on underwriting some of these assets? I mean, going from a single family home to...
That's a very good question. I give you the exact answer. Jeremy Roll.
I can't see you.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a man, so.
You bought on the hood for that single family, didn't you? 30 grand?
Yeah,
Wasn't it in Memphis?
Well, he was from Memphis, so I lost my shirt on the low-end stuff where I had to re-rehab properties 3 times before like I could find a tenant. It's just not worth dealing with the tenant base on the lower-end stuff and the crime and vandalism and theft and tenant turnover and the bad debts, and it just it's not sustainable long-term. You have to buy, when I buy in Memphis, I buy stuff that's $80,000 to $200,000 when the low-end stuff is 30, and you don't touch anything lower than that. That's really what it comes down to, and you have to have rents that are high enough to pay for any repairs in those long-term preventative maintenance things. That's the biggest challenge with any kind of single-family home is making sure that preventative maintenance is taken care of and your rents are high enough to cover those types of things.
Yeah, I mean, when you're buying any real estate, you're really not buying a property, you're buying the people that live in the property and pay you money, right? So you're buying quality of person, and if you buy Class C, Class D, inner city, that's the person that you're buying, right? And you're going to be constantly disappointed.
You want to be able to collect from the tenant if they default from garnishing waivers and things like that. If you have someone this is why I don't rent to Section 8 anymore, because they're judgment proof. They can mess up your house and you can't do anything about it, and then you have the Section 8 office where they tell you that, if they mess up your house, they'll kick them out of the program. Good luck with that. It just doesn't happen, and they have no money, so you're not going to be able to collect from them if they have a problem. So those low-end tenant bases, I would stay away from.
So there's Matt's pitfall. Brad, what about you?
I actually already touched on it. It was one of our first deals where we didn't give ourselves enough time in the contract for the financing, and we had a lender that was there. They had the loan approved. They just needed one more thing, and we literally ran out of time on the contract. I called the seller and asked for an extension. He's been great thus far. Should be no problem. And he didn't give us one. And so we couldn't do the deal because he had a higher offer in his back pocket. So once again, give yourself time. Thankfully, there wasn't that much at stake on that one. It was our first one, so we were funding our due diligence ourselves, no investor money at risk, but you just want to make sure that you have lots of margin for error.
Isn't that considered an education cost?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Right.
It was actually.
Yeah, there's your $20,000 course right there, guys. Right there.
Look, you'll learn more though in any other course. Amen. Andrew, as an investor, as a lender, things that you've seen, give us one pitfall.
I have stories. I think margin for error is a really good thing to live by. And so if you're looking at risk, especially from the financing side, leave yourself a margin for error. Don't over leverage. Right? It's hard. I'm a lender. I'm supposed to be selling debt, right? But I couldn't say that enough, right? Be within your means. Give yourself a cushion. Model it correctly. 18 to 22%. Model it for 14%. Make sure you know what's going to happen. You can't predict the future, so make sure that whatever you're investing in or you're owning can withstand some measure of pullback, and you didn't put yourself over the line just by taking out too much debt that you can handle.
Okay, we're going to end on a question that we always like to end on, and that's just kind of trying to gaze into each of your crystal balls on the economy, where it's going. Again, this is all opinion, right? So take this all with a grain of salt. But Hunter, starting with you, give us a sense of where you see where we're at in the cycle, and more importantly, how you're reacting to that as an investor.
Yeah, great question. So as far as where the cycle is, occupancies are high, cap rates are low, interest rates are low. That's like where we are, right? And so that's kind of the final ending of that. I was just recently interviewed someone. I have a podcast, and I just recently had Jason Post come on, who is a multifamily expert and very cyclically concerned as well. And I asked him, what do you think the odds are that we have a 20% correction in multifamily in the next 4 years? And he was like, that's nothing. That's nothing. 20% is nothing where prices are. To jump asset classes real quick, Dallas has seen office go from $80 a square foot to $145 a square foot. Okay, so 20%, that's really not a lot. And I'm really looking forward to it, to be honest. I hope everyone here keeps their shirt, but investing in recession-resistant assets, I'm looking forward to the opportunities that we haven't seen.
Brad?
Yeah, so I don't make economic predictions, and I think economists is a weird profession. But, so if you have that viewpoint, what you try to do is still put money to work. And so it goes back to the margin of safety. We try to think about the world in terms of what's the highest probability. Right? We don't know what's going to happen, but what do we think is a reasonable probability? And so we're buying properties that have a huge cushion between the debt we're putting on it, 4 or 5, more like 5 for us, and the yield that we're going in, which is around 9, unlevered. So that margin, right, we can withstand a lot of fluctuation in the capital markets. We can withstand a lot of bad things happening in the economy that may or may not impact our cash flow, right? Our debt service coverage ratio, which is the NOI, right, above the debt service or mortgage, right? You don't want to be in a situation where that is razor thin in a volatile market, right? Because what else goes down, right? You can't service your debt, the bank calls the note, you're in technical default, they take away the cash flow, they may or may not. So we like, just making sure that we're thinking about what's the worst case scenario. And for us, reasonably, we feel like, okay, cash flow could get hit. Maybe, we lose some tenants because manufacturing jobs continue to decline. Or, perhaps interest rates rise, right? Because there's only one direction they can go there. But if that does happen, what's our net effect? And so we feel comfortable where we're at because we're buying assets that have that margin of safety, both the debt service coverage ratio, and just from a standpoint of we're buying the lowest cost housing available, right? There's nowhere else to go but mobile home parks, right? In case you need shelter. So we're the last stop, and we like to think that people are always going to need shelter. And when things go bad, when the housing prices crash, if they ever do again, we don't think it's going to happen. But if they do, people are always going to need something to call their home, and that's us.
Andrew.
Well, I think I'm personally bullish on multifamily. Like I said this before, there are a lot of markets, there's undersupply, there's not enough development, we can't make enough housing for people, and there's more people every single day in this country. So I'm bullish on that. I think interest rates will go up eventually. That usually means affordability goes down for folks because they just can't get the financing at that point. Well, it also means values probably will come down really as well. Building on it corrects to X%, couldn't tell you. What I am hopeful for is that our political system stays stable, and it seems like they are focused on the economy, which I like. And there's been talk of deregulation of some financial measures like Dodd-Frank, which could loosen the bank regulations as well. So as interest rates go up and it gets sort of harder and harder for people to buy, hopefully this money gets a little looser as well, so that the net effect is zero and we can maintain sort of a steady growth or at least a plateau. Throughout commercial real estate and whole real estate would be nice.
Wow, awesome panel, guys. It's just great to get the different perspectives and points of view from each of you guys. So, I don't know, did you guys enjoy this tonight? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you all for your patience. Hope you enjoyed it. Our next panel is March the 8th. And what's that? Is it the 15th? That's right, March the 15th. The title is Did We Miss Our Flipping Window? Right? I wrote that. And we actually have a lot of fix and flipping here locally. We've got AJ, who's actually one of our sponsors that I didn't mention earlier with More Financial, who's a hard money lender specifically in that space. And who's our third or fourth panelist? And a fourth person that's on our meetup page. So if you go to meetup.com, you're all there. You'll probably get some emails in the next couple of days promoting that event. Fixing and flipping generally tends to be one of our biggest meetings of the year, right? Because that's the one thing in real estate that everyone understands. So because of the new space here, we're somewhat limited. So if that's a topic of interest, RSVP early. Once we get past 75 moving forward, we're going to turn off. We'll have people that are in reserve waiting. but we have a certain amount of people we can get here. So if that's of interest, RSVP early just so you have your spot. That's it for tonight. As a reminder, we have people literally standing by to put this room back together. So as soon as we're done here, go ahead and go around this corner, this hallway right through here. There's a door and another door. There's a stairway down, and North Italia is just on this corner over here. We've got the whole patio. There should be food out there. Grab a drink. These guys will be down there. You can ask them more questions. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Plans, we're going to get